Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, I am absolutely thrilled to share this one with you today because we are diving headfirst into a true cosmic mystery. Seriously, this is a full-blown celestial whodunit, taking place roughly 45 million light-years away in the Fornax constellation. We're going to be focusing on a spectacular barred spiral galaxy known as ARP-77, sometimes called NGC 1097. Now, at first glance, this galaxy looks like a stunning, but, somewhat standard cosmic neighbor. But when astronomers looked just a bit closer, well, a bizarre feature leaps right out of the dark, and it completely challenges everything we thought we knew about how these galaxies behave. Right away, radiating outward from the center of ARP-77, you can spot these massive, faint, glowing X-shaped structures. They are absolutely enormous. But there is one in particular that really demands our attention: the structure extending out to the northeast. It shoots straight out into the void, and then it takes an incredibly sharp, honestly impossible-looking 90-degree turn. Astronomers actually call this the dogleg jet. I want you to just picture that for a second. Imagine a massive jet of material stretching across thousands upon thousands of light years through the frictionless vacuum of space, suddenly just snapping into a sharp right-angle turn. Basic physics tells us that things in motion tend to stay in motion in a straight line, right? Unless they're acted upon by an outside force. So what unseen force could possibly grab a jet of cosmic material and bend it 90 degrees like that? What exactly is going on with the dogleg jet? Well, our first suspect in this investigation was a phenomenon we're actually pretty familiar with: supermassive black hole jets. See, because all four of these mysterious streams appear to radiate directly from ARP-77's Seyfert-1 active galactic nucleus, which is essentially a supermassive black hole actively gorging on matter. Early astronomers naturally assumed these were just massive beams of plasma. I mean, we see this all the time in other active galaxies, where these black holes feast and blast out high-energy relativistic jets across the cosmos. Honestly, it was the most logical first guess. But to really confirm that, we have to look at the data. We have to compare what we would expect from a true black hole jet against what we're actually observing in ARP-77. If these were plasma jets blasted out by a central black hole, we'd expect to see intense energy signatures, specifically strong radio waves from synchrotron radiation, or maybe the thermal glow of superheated million-degree plasma known as bremsstrela. But when researchers pointed the Very Large Array Radio Telescope directly at ARP-77, they found zilch. Absolutely zero radio emission from these jets. The energy distribution didn't match a plasma jet at all. So let's run through the actual forensic evidence that totally rules out that active nucleus theory. First, no radio emission, as we just established. Instead, the streams are sporting these very distinct blue optical colors. Furthermore, their spectral energy distribution perfectly matches starlight, specifically stars that are pretty similar to G-type stars, just like our own sun. And crucially, there's absolutely no neutral atomic hydrogen, or HI gas, to be found anywhere in them. This collection of evidence proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that these are not jets of plasma. These massive glowing streaks are actually made almost entirely of stars, which, completely flips our entire narrative. If these aren't high-energy plasma beams, but instead a 67 kiloparsec trail of stars scattered out into deep space, how on earth did they get there? Stars don't just spontaneously arrange themselves into rigid 90-degree dogleg shapes out in the intergalactic void. If these are tidal streams of stars pulled out from a galaxy, we have to figure out where they originally came from. And that brings us to this highly specific, yet incredibly important number: 0.06 solar masses per square parsec. That tiny number represents the upper limit of neutral hydrogen surface density in these streams. Basically, it means these streams are bone dry. Typical tidal tails, the material ripped out of a spiral galaxy during a collision, are almost always soaking in hydrogen gas because the outer disks of spiral galaxies are full of it. The fact that ARP-77 streams have less than 0.06 solar masses of gas per square parsec, that completely rules out the idea that these stars were pulled out of ARP-77's own gas-rich spiral disk. Okay, so the stars didn't come from a black hole, and they definitely didn't come from ARP-77 itself. To find out where they did come from, we literally have to travel to the scene of the crime. We have to investigate the physical site of that impossible 90-degree bend to track down our prime suspect. When astronomers zoomed way, way in from the macro view of the galaxy, right down into the actual structure of the dogleg bend itself, they found something totally unexpected. Looking closely at that northeast stream, it wasn't just a diffuse haze of scattered stars. There were dense, distinct clusterings of stars sitting right in the middle of the tidal stream. They designated these clusters as Not A and Not B. And here is the kicker. Not A isn't just some random clump of cosmic debris. Spectroscopic analysis using the Very Large Telescope down in Chile revealed something amazing. The light profile, the surface brightness, and the stellar population of Not A perfectly match the profile of an entirely separate, tiny galaxy, specifically a dwarf spheroidal galaxy. It's composed of intermediate to metal-rich G-type stars with zero signs of ongoing star formation. The stars in the massive stream out there perfectly match the stars packed inside Not A. So, here is the verdict of our investigation, and it is wild. The reason ARP-77 has these massive, rigid X-shaped jets is because ARP-77 is a cosmic cannibal. We're looking at a minor merger in progress. Those so-called jets, they aren't jets at all. They are the shredded, stretched out, violently disassembled remains of a tiny dwarf galaxy that made the fatal mistake of orbiting a little too close to a giant. Let's actually piece together the timeline of how this happens because it perfectly solves our missing gas problem. This process is called ram pressure stripping. Step 1. The dwarf galaxy plunges through the thick, gaseous disk of the massive ARP-77. Step 2. The sheer friction and ram pressure of hitting ARP-77's disk violently sweeps all the neutral hydrogen gas right out of the dwarf galaxy. It's kind of like a cosmic headwind, just blowing away all of a dandelion's seeds. Step 3. The immense gravity of ARP-77 shreds the now gasless dwarf apart. And finally, Step 4. The stars are flung out into these massive, bone-dry stellar streams. And the enhanced imaging brilliantly illustrates this final proof. Right where Not A sits, you can see this very distinct S-shaped inflection in the stream. At higher contrasts, there's an elliptical overdensity of stars visibly peeling right off the core of Not A. These are the exact textbook morphological signatures of a galaxy actively being torn apart by tidal forces. Not A is literally the dying heart of the victim, actively bleeding its stars out into the dogleg stream. As one of our sources so poetically puts it, this whole system remains a rara avis, a rare bird of the celestial menagerie. It is incredibly unique, mostly because getting this sharp X shape with a perfect 90-degree dogleg turn requires a highly specific set of circumstances. The dwarf galaxy had to plunge in on the absolute perfect trajectory. But even more than that, we can only see this sharp X shape from a very lucky viewing angle here on Earth. If we looked at ARP-77 from a different angle, these majestic streams would just look like a blurry, uninteresting halo. Which really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If a cosmic murder scene of this magnitude is only visible to us because we happen to be sitting at the exact right viewing angle, what else are we missing? Next time you look up at the night sky, it's worth asking, how many other seemingly peaceful, beautiful spiral galaxies are actually actively shredding invisible, smaller neighbors right now, hidden safely in the dark, simply because our viewing angle is a few degrees off? It's a universe governed by immense, unseen gravitational violence. And ARP-77? Well, it just happened to get caught in the act.